Hey, you found Never Enough Time. My name is Brandon. Today we're taking a look at the Zodiac Super Sea Wolf Compression 53. It's a retro-inspired dive watch that actually goes back to a bygone era in the Zodiac catalog as they look for inspiration from past watches to bring this watch into the present day with present day materials, present day proportions and look. The best 8 minutes I possibly can do start now.
So if you ain't got nothing better to do, let's waste some time.
Okay, so when we take a look at the Zodiac Super Sea Wolf 53, and I'll just say the Zodiac Sea Wolf, that's what's printed on the dial. On the website, they have a longer name to it. But this is model ZO9274. It has a case size of 40 millimeters. Lug to lug is 49 millimeters. Sapphire crystal. We have 13 millimeters thick on the watch. 20 millimeter lug width. The movement is the STP 3-13. It is 200 millimeters water resistance. The bracelet we said was 20. It actually tapers very nicely down to 16. And then it stays 16 at the clasp, but it goes up to 18 if you include the side pushers here on it. And you're looking at a 42-hour power reserve. So in this watch, you have just a very classic proportion size. It's a sizable watch. With the proportions it has, honestly, that looks great if you have a smaller wrist. It looks great on my wife's wrist. Here's a shot of her wearing it on a 6¼ inch wrist is the size of her wrist. And then on my 8-inch wrist. And you see it looks right at home on quite a range of wrist sizes there. And that's just really because they just pick some really sort of nice classical proportions to do this watch. Also with the band, with the bracelet tapering down, very comfortable to fit on the wrist. And this, I guess it's Jubilee, I'll say, style bracelet gives it sort of a dressier feel. So when we take a look at Zodiac, and even going out to their website, they kind of come right out and say, hey, we're making watches inspired from the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And that's what this feels like. The highlight of this watch, it's unbelievably photogenic. And there's a handful of watches that I've had in my collection over the past couple of years that photograph really well. And that's important if you're into things like social media and Instagram. It also, I noticed, the more photogenic a watch is, it seems the more likely other people will notice it. And I don't really care to have people notice a watch so that I can, brag about a watch. It's to generate interest in other people in a hobby that we are all passionate about. So I often think about the photogenicness. I'm not even sure that's a word. Photogenicness, how well a watch photographs is often a predictor of what kind of conversation starter it will be for people who notice. But the next thing about this watch that I absolutely love, the color on it probably won't do it much justice on the video. I'll try to have some pictures maybe that highlight the color. But this blue is fantastic, that vintage sort of green lume. The orange minute hand that gives it not a brash orange or a blazing orange, but enough of a contrast that it works well with this kind of blue. This feels like summer. This feels like margaritas. This feels like tacos. This feels like sitting on the ocean side, eating your favorite seaside crab cakes and adult beverage, or sitting on your deck grilling and barbecuing with a mojito. This is the vibe to me this watch does. So absolutely fantastic a watch. The other thing about Zodiac that I'm very impressed by, this is the first Zodiac I ever had on my channel here, is the build quality is just so good. The applied indices give it some depth and very nice kind of character. The dial is a silver, I would say a sunburst dial that plays very nice in the sunlight. Absolutely gorgeous that way. The watch also has, in terms of bezel action, here's the totally gratuitous, right? I don't even know. Yeah, there you go. It's the very crunchy, satisfying bezel action. The action on the watch is very tight, no back play, so excellent there. The bracelet is very comfortable. They have the center link here that a lot of times on bracelets, it'll protrude out maybe an extra link, so your actual lug width is extended a bit based on how the links of the bracelets are made. But this folds flat down against the case back. That makes it very comfortable against your wrist. Absolutely a great job by them. The bracelet, I very much appreciate as well too. A lot of times on metal bracelets in the summer, they can get a little tight. This looks like it gives just a sort of a pull flex bracelet. Maybe it gives maybe a millimeter on each side. So you might have 2.5, 3 millimeters of stretch there without having to do any adjustments. The one downside, no micro adjustments on this, so you will have to try to get a fit with removing links. So that's a little bit, can be a little bit tricky depending on where that falls. But again, just excellent. Branding on the clasp is kind of neat, matches the back of the watch. So just a lot of neat touches on a sub $1,300 watch. Just a lot of value there in terms of the movement, the uniqueness. There's nothing, you know, it might be a homage, I guess, but it's to themselves. It was in their line, so I think that is more than okay. So what kind of watch, like what kind of situations does this fit as we wrap it up? Well, it's a photogenic watch. That's a category I think I've made up. It's certainly a casual watch. Jeans, t-shirt, flip-flops, flip-flop
sandals?
Yeah, flip-flops, sandals, whatever the case is. This works for that. It's a sports watch, 200 meters of water resistance. You certainly can take it with you swimming, snorkeling. I don't know about diving, but certainly no issues with water. Screw down crown helps with that too. What else? We have a dressy sports watch, if that's a category. I think with this bracelet, and actually if you rolled in probably a nice black leather, I think it looks good on the brown leather. You would get sort of a dressier sports watch. Certainly not a formal piece, but a dressier sports watch. And then because of the colors, the silver dial, the blue, the orange in the hand, that vintage green lume, there's a million different straps that are going to look great on this. So it is a strap monster watch. So checks a lot of interesting boxes for a collector like me who's into a lot of more field or pilot watches with high contrast, black dial, white numerals, very easy to read type of watch. This just screams the weekend convertibles, having a little bit of fun. You want to put on a sport jacket and some jeans, this will work great. I highly recommend the Zodiac and taking a look at it. They have a lot of interesting pieces in their line over the last couple of years. Their GMT watches look fantastic. Some of their super compression watches look fantastic. So give Zodiac a look. The Zodiac Sea Wolf 53, I think, is an absolute home run for that style of watch. And that's all I have for today. Look me up on Instagram at Never Enough Time. I post watch photos there a couple times a week. Some of them are upcoming watches I'll be reviewing here on the channel. Tag me in some of your photos, especially when there's an interesting story. I'd love to share not just watches, but the stories that go with them, the emotional connection because of events that have happened in your life. And finally, let's just be good to everyone out there. Love your neighbor, love God, and I hope to see you soon again. Thank you.